part of the Secure Act 2.0, if you're a business owner, before you would only get 50% credit for all the savings that you would put into a retirement account for your employees. Well, now it's up to 100% for the first, I believe, 3 or 5 years, which is a big deal because, again, they're trying to incentivize you as the employer to help your employees out and take the retirement planning a little bit more seriously. The following is for informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Please consult a professional before making any financial decisions. For your reference, our full disclaimer will be displayed at the end of the episode. Hi, and welcome to the Building Wealth from Scratch podcast, where we talk about personal finance for first-time wealth builders. We are your hosts, Jerry and Bianca. Today's topic: retirement planning.
Yes. So before we dive into retirement planning, let's share what we've been up to. So April flew by, getting back into our routine from travel. I think it's something that I feel like I'm starting to realize now, like how much I love my routine and getting in my 8 hour sleep and just waking up early to go work out. And it's like it was travel. I feel like I need like a break, like a vacation from my travel.
Yeah, for sure.
But it flew by. Easter, and then it was your dad's birthday, and then it was Mother's Day, and then all of a sudden it's like now like Memorial Day weekend is coming, right. And I'm just like, where did the time go? It just flew by. And May, I don't know, that was all of May, but now we're entering June, and then I'm like, wow, we're like 1 month away from our birthdays, which I'm gonna turn 30 this year, July 2nd. Jerry's going to turn 32 in July 4th. And then our dog, our German Shepherd, is going to turn 4 on July 5th. So lots of Cancer energy in our household. But man, I was preparing myself to turn 30, and I was like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's fine. I'm trying to prepare myself mentally. But all of a sudden this year, I'm turning 30. And all of a sudden I'm reflecting a lot of wow, it flew by. It really did. I still can't, I just feel like my 20s was or early 20s was not that long ago. And just to realize that that was
10 years ago.
That was 10 years ago is wow. And you just keep reflecting on wow, look at all what I've achieved and what I want to achieve next. And sometimes we get into that cycle of what we feel like our life should look like at a certain age. And I think this aligns really closely with retirement, because financial planning is planning to make sure that you're on track to achieving your goals, right?
Yeah, it's really to reflect on what you want to achieve in life, to really give you clarity on how to achieve these goals and what strategies to take advantage of.
But a common trend that we keep seeing is that there's not enough people through our clients, and also there's not enough people saving for retirement.
There's not enough awareness, because the reality is a lot of the individuals, especially nowadays, is they wait till they're in their 40s or 50s to really start planning and taking retirement seriously. But by that point, it's pretty hard because, again, time is your biggest asset, not the amount of money you make. It's time. And the more time you have, the less your money has to work in your favor.
Right. And so why do you think that is? Why is there such a big gap within retirement planning? And I think first-time wealth builders, there's this big gap of retirement, that's so far off, far away from, that's years away. I could barely keep up with my work, my other responsibilities.
Yeah, and I think it's that. I think it's because people are prioritizing life. They're prioritizing, having babies, trying to buy a house, buying that car, that they put retirement on the back burner. And I think that's the biggest hurdle that people are dealing with today, because, I mean, again, life is going to happen. Economic trends are going to always, the market's going to do its thing. The economy is going to do its thing.
Yeah.
So there's never going to be a perfect time to start. But I feel like a lot of people are always waiting for the perfect time because they want to save for X and save for Y and leave retirement to the end.
Yes. And like also I wanted to ask you, like, what is it that most people don't realize about retirement accounts?
I think, well, the big one, and most recently, it's the Secure Act 2.0. That really changed a lot of things for saving for retirement. A big one is that a lot of these new retirement, or the new rules of the Secure Act 2.0, is that they allow your retirement accounts to serve as emergency funds. They allow you to take money out for certain things, medical expenses, having a baby, paying your closing costs on a house. Like, all these things help. And that's what most people don't realize. They think that they have to save the money in a savings account or something like that for them to buy these things and to have access to that money.
Even to qualify for a house, right? So many people like focus on like paying off debt, which is important, but also having assets is important as well. So like building that wealth, like, and those retirement accounts can really go a long way in, you know, helping you achieve these other goals.
And I think that's why Congress passed the Secure Act 2.0, which, if you recall, it happened about 3 years ago that it passed. But there's still things being implemented every year since then, even till next year, 2026. There's still certain things that are slowly being implemented from the Secure Act 2.0. And I think it's because Congress has noticed that, hey, the average American is not saving enough for retirement. They're way behind. And so the goal is for them to encourage more people to start saving more for their future.
And I know we talked about this, but it's like you also mentioned that Congress is also pushing for companies to increase the savings, like almost having that automated. So like,
yes, I mean, that's a great point. So even part of the Secure Act 2.0, if you're a business owner, before you would only get 50% credit for all the savings that you would put into a retirement account for your employees. Well, now it's up to 100% for the first, I believe, 3 or 5 years, which is a big deal because, again, they're trying to incentivize you as the employer to help your employees out and take the retirement planning a little bit more seriously.
Why do you think this is happening? Like,
well, I think it goes back to what we just mentioned. It's because there's not enough awareness. And I think people grew up with the mindset of the 70s and 80s where almost every company was offering some sort of pension plan. That's not the case anymore. Now the main vehicle that's used is usually 401ks or some defined contribution plan, which is not a pension.
okay.
That means that you have to save for your own future and you have to invest your money diligently to make sure that you have enough money when you retire to live the life you want. Versus before, with the pension, the company was in charge of investing that money for you and making sure that the benefit they said they were going to pay you out, they had enough money to actually do that month over month for the rest of your life.
Yeah, like pensions are like unheard of now. It's like you have to work for the government.
Yeah.
You have to work for the government. But I'm almost like thinking too, like, okay, like back in the day, like in the 70s, you worked for this really good company and you worked X amount of years, whether you liked it or not.
Right.
You had to stick it out for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And you had to be certain X amount or X age, right?
To retire. Yep.
So that was the
norm, you know?
Yeah, back then.
And then at that point, you knew that I have to retire in order to get paid out. So that's why most people are, when you talk about retirement, they think of not having to work anymore or not working anymore.
Right.
because of that. Because the pension would only pay out when you stop working. Same thing with Social Security. Obviously, right now, there's current talks with a bill that they will stop taxing Social Security benefits. That's the other thing that prevented a lot of people from getting another job or from continuing to work during retirement, is because then their Social Security benefit was going to also be taxed.
Right.
So all these things compile and make people feel like they just can't work anymore. You just have to stop working and you just live day to day.
And I'm almost like, you're so right. Like, that's the society that, people in the 70s and the 80s grew up with. And so now, like, versus now, like, people don't stay at jobs no more than probably 3 to 5 years. I mean, or at least
they don't stay 20 plus years.
Yeah, anymore. I guess, like, I should say that. Yeah, like, they don't stay 20 plus years in a company, and this is a big factor why. And I think not enough people are talking about, like, well, before, a company would actually give me a pension, and so I had a reason to stay, versus now I really don't have anything that's holding me down to this job besides my benefits, like PTO and health insurance, which you can get at another job. So I think it's like, this is almost like what we talk about, like the money game. Like, the rules are always changing. Are you staying on top of them, and are you using these rules to help you make your money work for you? And so I think and
I think that's what's opened the Pandora's box that we see today, like the FIRE movement that you like to always talk about. Things like that didn't happen out of nowhere. It's because of the trends that we're seeing right now. Versus now, more people are starting to say, hey, I don't want to stop working. I want the opportunity to no longer have to work, but that doesn't mean I want to stop working. And that's a whole mindset shift as well that's happened in the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, that's what it stands for. And it's basically this movement, right? You're saving a lot of money so that you can retire early. And so, kind of going back to that conversation, so it was almost like pensions were giving basically in exchange between the employee and the employer of, here's what we're going to give you if you stay with us X amount of years, versus now the 401k is completely on the employee to make sure that they're saving, and it's on them if they could retire at X amount. So there's pros and cons to that. The way I see it, a pro that I feel like I never realized, like, I can't imagine, like, a big part of a reason for me staying at my company, like, well, actually, I think you went through this in the military, but, like, oh my gosh, like, if you were to tell me, like if my influences around me, like, Bianca, you've already given X amount of years in your company, why not stay there so that you can get your pension? I think I would lose it. Like, to think that people actually did that before, like, they sucked it up, like, from, like, in, because we've learned there's not great work environments always. That sounds like a lot, versus before, you have that freedom. You're not tied to a company like that. But now you have to be more diligent in planning for retirement. So I think I just realized, like, that's a big aha moment for me. So what is it that, I guess the way I see it now is, like, the 401k is more so on the employee to make sure that they are saving diligently to ensure that they can retire at the age that they decide to retire.
Right. Yeah. And not only just making sure that you're saving enough money, you also have to make sure that you're investing it properly. Because, again, pensions did all of that for you. They would tell you exactly how much they would pay out every month for the rest of your life. Now, I don't know if you know this, but people are living longer. Well, it's actually gone down a little bit these last few years. But let's say you retire at 65 and your life expectancy is 89, 90. How do you make your money last you almost 30-something years without running out? So that's the big gap that people have to understand and figure out, that, hey, I need to plan diligently because the pension isn't going to save me. I have to create my own pension. And you
Right.
can do that in many different ways. But the point is that you have to be diligent and plan accordingly to make sure that you don't run out of money.
So, Jerry, so if someone is like, I want to take this seriously now. I want to start planning for retirement. I want to make sure that I'm setting myself and my family for success. Where should they start?
I would recommend that you start with asking yourself 4 questions. One, you have to understand, what does your ideal retirement lifestyle look like? And then from there, you can decide how much money you need to save and where you should be saving it. And then from there, you can start planning on how to invest that money between now and then. So it's 4 prongs. Start off with, what does retirement look like for you? Understand where you can save for retirement. How much should you be saving? And then now, how should I invest my retirement savings? Those are the 4 questions, because all those 4 connect. They're all interconnected, because again, we go back to the reality is you are now in charge of your own retirement. Unless you work for a company that still offers a pension, or you work for the government, the likelihood is pretty low. Most people are in the private sector, and that is no longer an option. So you have to be diligent enough to start saving. So now the main saving vehicles is usually the 401k. That's the most talked about and the most common one. But let's say you have a small business, or you work for a small business. There's other options as well. You don't have to just rely on the 401k. You can have a simple, a SEP, IRA. They're all contribution plans, but they all operate a little bit differently. And I think that's where most small business owners get confused, because they just think that they have to have a 401k plan, or that there's nothing available for them, even though they only have 2 people as employees.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Going back to what I mentioned, the Secure Act 2.0 is making it more beneficial and more accessible to small businesses to start saving for their employees.
Yeah, I think
and for themselves as the owner.
Yeah, I would say too, one thing I realized, there's so many options for small businesses. It was like the solo 401k, the SEP IRA, the simple IRA, what is it? The cash balance.
Yep.
Is it cash balance?
Cash balance pension plan.
Pension plan. Mm-hmm. There's like so many options, which can be overwhelming. And then
there's other ones, like if you work for a tech company or a startup, they usually have ESOPs, which is stock option plans, where they share the stock of the company because they are a startup. The goal is to appreciate in value.
Yeah.
So there's so many plans out there that they all tie into what kind of company and industry and outcome you're looking for. It's just finding the right one for you.
And I think I want to go a step back and talk about like what you mentioned, like what does retirement look like for you? It's like, what do you visualize yourself doing, for retirement? And also, how much income do you want, right?
Right.
How much income do you want to have once you retire to live? Is it to live comfortably, or is it just to have enough to pay the bills? What does that life look like? I think when you reflect on those questions, when we sat down with our financial planner and reflected on that, I mean, it was like the first time we said out loud to ourselves, like, yeah, we want to retire in our 50s. Like that would be a big goal, and we want to retire comfortably. Of course, that can always change, but how cool that we're planning ahead of time and we're actually working towards that goal. And I mean, now I'm at a point where I love what I do, and I think I see myself doing more of the having more of a 50 like part-time in the business, and having that other half to travel and be retired, but I don't think I want to let go completely of working. And I think we surrounded ourselves with really good mentors and examples of people who do it. Like we know Jerry has really good, just like colleagues that
they're on their third career.
They're on their third career in their 70s, still working. And I just thought that was completely admirable. Mm-hmm. And so it just gave me a lot more to reflect on. And
again, that's the beauty of living in the United States, is that you get to decide how you want to live your life. Obviously, as long as it's legal. But you can make money anywhere. You can be a startup somewhere. You can have, sell stuff on Amazon or whatever. Like, there's so many ways to make money now that you can actually plan diligently about how you want your future to look.
Yeah. And so I think once you have those clarity on those questions and you're like, I know what I want, this is what I want, it makes it a lot easier, because there's like the Roth IRA, the IRA, the 401k that has pre-tax and post-tax contributions, which I was going to say, like some, and I was going to mention, I wanted to share that story of like when we sat down with our financial planner, we were doing pre-tax 401k contributions, and we thought we were doing like the best, well, we were proud of ourselves, like at least saving, right? But then, when he did our financial plan, he was like, you guys don't make enough. Like, well, not make enough, but you guys are in the early parts of your career. What I see for you guys is that your income is only going to go up. And right now you got to take advantage of that. You qualify for the Roth contributions, and that you're taking advantage of that tax advantage
absolutely.
accounts.
Because the reality is like IRAs have income limits, and the Roth IRA has income limits as well. And it's actually, if you are, let me look for it. So the phase out, if you're single, if you make 150 through 165,000, you're going to be phased out. So if you make more than 165,000, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA. If you're married filing jointly, if you make more than 246,000, you cannot contribute to a Roth IRA.
Yes.
So that's what he was talking about. And obviously that was years ago. These numbers have been adjusted for inflation, so they've gone up. But back then it was much less than that.
And he had no, like, he couldn't foresee that, but it was just like preparing us, like.
Right. Well, because he knew I wanted to be an advisor and grow in this industry. So he knew that my income was only going to go up.
And he was like, when you get to that point,
right,
then we'll take advantage of
Correct.
the pre-tax contributions. And that's when it's going to be helpful for you. And so
and that's the biggest. A lot of people are confused about that. They're like, what does that even mean? Pre-tax versus Roth. It's pretty complicated, especially if you're not in tune with your finances, you don't have a good CPA or a financial planner on your side that can help explain these things. It's pretty hard. But yeah, in a nutshell, pre-tax is you're telling the IRS, don't tax me now, tax me later. And then Roth is tax me now, but everything that grows from that point on is all tax-free.
Which can be a big deal when you're retired,
yes.
Like, and paying you're keeping more of your money.
Correct. And it's the beauty, because again, going back to the Secure Act 2.0, they made more Roth options available for all these retirement accounts, which is huge. Like, even employer contributions, which normally has always been pre-tax. So your employer matches you 3% on your 401k. Now you can elect to say that you want that 3% to go into your Roth. Obviously, you're going to pay the tax on that money because the company gets a deduction no matter what. But now think about that. Now you have all that money growing tax-free. When you take the money out, you don't have to pay any more taxes.
Yeah.
That's powerful, especially when you have 20, 30, 40 years for that money to compound and grow. That's huge.
Yeah, that is a big deal. I think it's like, obviously we can't do this right now, but when you see the graph of like how much in tax savings
right.
you have.
I mean, and that was the beauty of working with, individuals that had more money. You would see the Roth conversion strategies. And so even if you are making too much money right now, it's not the end of the world. Because at the end of the day, if you decide to retire part-time, your income is going to go down. And at that point, we can take advantage and start converting your money from pre-tax to Roth. And
there's just so many strategies.
Right.
And I think one big thing, well, I wanted to add, even for like, now that you're talking about the Secure Act, before it was that the 529 would be just for college, and now that you can convert it to a Roth. Is that not correct?
That's correct. Yes. Now, so the 529 used to be only for college, but then they changed it a few years back, and it's also for trade school, and it can also be used for private school from kindergarten through high school. So that's huge. Now, on top of that, let's say that your child doesn't use up all that money, or they decide to not attend school. They join the military, or they hit the workforce right after high school.
Or they get a scholarship.
Well, you can pay yourself back if you get a scholarship.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. But now what they can do is, let's say they don't use that money, it has to be open for at least 10 years, and then they can convert it into a Roth IRA. So now it moves from education funds, now it can move to a retirement fund because they don't need the money, which is huge. Again, the Secure Act, Congress knows that a lot of people are not saving enough money, so they're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get started. So these are all important questions to start with. So if you need help building a plan to help you get to your ideal retirement lifestyle, or you're a business owner that needs help implementing a retirement plan, I highly encourage you to book a free call so that we can discuss and see if our services are a right fit for you. We will have a link for you to schedule your complimentary Zoom call.
With that, we'll wrap up today's episode. Thank you so much for listening, and make sure to subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. And feel free to comment below to let us know if you took anything away from today's show. You can help us grow by sharing this podcast episode with friends and family. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Building Wealth from Scratch. See you next month. Bye.
Confianza Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor in the state of California. Advisory services are only offered to clients or prospective clients where Confianza Wealth Management and its representatives are properly registered or exempt from registration. This video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute individualized advice or a guarantee that you will achieve a desired result. You should consult with an appropriate tax and/or financial advisor for advice specific to your situation. All expressions of opinion reflect the judgment of the host/interviewee on the date of the program and are subject to change. Presented is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. Discussions should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell, or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell the investments mentioned. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the strategies discussed. Investments involve varying degrees of risk, and there can be no assurance that any specific investment or strategy will be suitable or profitable for a client's portfolio. All investment strategies can result in profit or loss.